So, like, I'm going to talk about the Manananggal and the CIA because the CIA used the myth of the Manananggal to keep people away from their bases when they occupied the Philippines. It's crazy. And then there's like about like a lady who was when she was born, she has a twin snake.
Wow.
And then another story about like the town where the Aswangs are from, that actually there's a high concentration of a genetic disease that makes them like contort.
Welcome to Big Crystal Energy, Season 3, the Veil Season. I'm Ashleigh, and I live at the threshold. Between medicine and magic, between the visible world and what waits just beyond it, between the person I present and the witch I am. I've learned something. The in-between isn't a problem to solve. It's a place of power. This season, we're exploring the veil, where Victorian women spoke for the dead, where fairies guard the crossroads, where glamour becomes armor, where you stop apologizing for being both things at once. The crystals have always known the way through. Let me show you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Big Crystal Energy. I'm Ashleigh, and I am so excited because, as you guys know, I just got back from this big trip through the Philippines and Japan, and I was there. I was learning about the folklore, the culture, everything, and I just became absolutely fascinated. I went down so many rabbit holes, and I got on Threads, and I reached out, and Anama, who is my guest today, so graciously got in contact with me, and we have made it to we've come together and we're going to do this podcast episode today. And she also has her own amazingly funny, wonderful podcast called The Gods Are Crazy. And I will link that in the show notes too, because you'll have to check it out. But Anama, thank you so much. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. She's coming all the way from Singapore and it's midnight for her. So
It is.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for having me, Ashleigh. And thanks also for the shout out for the Gods Must Be Crazy podcast. It's me, myself, and my friend Ice. She lives in Ireland now. She just moved last October. So we actually haven't been able to film another episode since she's left. But we have about 4 years worth of episodes in the archive and hopefully more soon, as soon as she gets settled in.
You guys have to check it out because these two ladies are just hysterical. I've just been really enjoying it. I mean, and the thing that I love about it is, yes, you get all the folklore and everything, but I also love to hear two friends, just the banter. So I just love that too. So,
thanks.
Yeah. So I'm interested in your story, how you even got interested in this topic, how you guys even decided to do a podcast, because Filipino folklore is wild.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of, it's kind of wild. Yeah. So we got started because I as I mentioned earlier, I've been living here in Singapore for about 13 years now, but 6 years ago I had a baby. And when I had a baby, my husband is Northern Irish, and a lot of his family is still back there. They still have their manor house and everything. And he's from the O'Reillys. So when they found out that we were expecting, they sent like packages of things that were their families. So I have like family crests everywhere. There's this book of Irish folklore that my daughter now likes to carry around, and she would tell me stuff about fairies like for fun.
Oh, I love that.
She loves it. And apparently all the O'Reilly children had this book growing up. And then there was even an O'Reilly tartan and an O'Reilly knit pattern and everything. So she had all these things. And I was like, hang on a second. She's also half Filipino. So she's going to have our part of the heritage too. But before I knew it, I had bought all the books there was to be bought. And there were no like cartoons. There were no like other children's books. There were just the children's stories, which were like 4 or 5 that I remember growing up. And then also I love to listen to audiobooks and podcasts. And me and my friend Ice, we both love podcasts. She loves mythology podcasts. And I like murder, comedy murder. A weird comedy true crime is what I like.
I love that too.
It's right. My favorite murder is my favorite podcast. And so I was telling my friend, look, there's a ton of podcasts there. about Filipino folklore, but they're all like really scary. So there's one of the most famous ones is called Philippine Campfire Stories, where there's like crackling fire, and you're like, oh, this is great. It's gonna be cozy. No, it's freaky. Do not listen to it while you're walking home down the street. It's freaky because they whisper. It's like a very ASMR. It's freaky. So like, don't listen to it. And I said, like, I can't listen to it at night. I can only listen to it at daylight, and it's very like it's kind of scary. It's kind of spooky. And I said, what if we made a podcast that went after these Filipino stories like a tabloid writer, like as like a showbiz, showbizy, gossipy kind of friends who are just like talking about their neighbors or like, you know, and so that's really how it started. We just had like we had brunch one morning, and we just said, okay, this is what we're gonna. And she and I used to work in the same company together. We both used to work at Procter and Gamble. And so she's like a marketing genius, and I worked in public relations. And so I said, like, well, I can, and my husband's a musician and an artist. So I said, like, well, I can produce and record, and, how hard could it be? Right. And then she was like, oh, yeah. And I can do like the marketing and things like that. Great. First brunch, we had like maybe 20 episodes already like mapped out. And then we were like dibs. And then she's like, and then she goes to the bathroom or something. And then when she comes back, she's like, what do we call it? And I said, like, the gods must be crazy. And she was like, that's it. That was like the first meeting. We recorded it. And then we made the first 2 episodes. The first one was about the Manananggal, which is the monster that bisects herself. And then the second one was about the goddess of love, right? And so we did a twofer for our first 2 episodes. And then we reached out to our friends who we knew were influential in the space. So I mentioned him earlier before we started recording. Budgetan was, he's a creator of a Netflix series, a comic book series that became a Netflix show, Trece. And I knew him from the agency days because he used to work for like McCann. And then I sent it to him, and I sent it to this guy named Jordan Clark, who is a Canadian gentleman who's married to a Filipina, and he has this great blog called the Aswang Project. Aswang meaning the monster. And he created this blog because he had a daughter who also had Filipino roots, and he wanted to teach her about her own culture. Right. And so he even made a documentary way back in the 90s. So he had this, we sent these podcasts out, and we're like, hey, look, we just did this. We think it's fairly new. And then they put it on their platforms. First episode, we were like number one, like on the charts. Amazing. Weirdly enough. And ever since then, every time we would do a new episode, it would always like shoot up. And we said, like, what's going on? And then people would say, like, they'd been looking for something like this, right? And a lot of content that is out there made by Filipinos are not in English. And then a lot of the content that is in English are from Filipinos who didn't grow up in the Philippines. So we felt that we had, like, both of us had grown up in the Philippines, but we just lived far away. And we, because we worked in very American companies, we felt that we could speak in a way that would bridge like the cultural differences, right? So I mean, if you listen to the podcast, a lot of it is like we try to bridge it to like Western concepts and also like our own growing up experiences to sort of give it color. And I have cousins who are half British, and they completely grew up in the US. And they're like my biggest fans. And like if they're gonna listen, hi Timmy, hi Sparky, hi Hope, hi Faith, hi guys. And then they said, like, because their mom moved to America when she was 21 or something, like straight out of university, and she grew up in the city too. So they're trying to find their roots. And so a lot of the culture resonates with parts of themselves that they couldn't reconcile with their Americanness or their Britishness. And so these are like unintended things that we found, but also we're just like really curious. And every time we're always like finding weird new things about it ourselves, which is just like really fun.
And I think it's kind of interesting. What I love about it too is because I grew up and I didn't have, I'm just like a white girl. Okay. We didn't have anything cultural in my family. We don't have any specific traditions that we follow. Other than just like your normal, like Christmas and Easter, like just the Catholic church or whatever. We didn't have anything like that. And so when we're in the Philippines and even prior to going, like my husband is sharing these stories and things about his culture. And it's just, I like that because I didn't grow up with anything like that. And I am someone that's very like interested in like your daughter, like the Irish mythology and the fairies and all that stuff. Like that always made a lot of sense to me, but that's not necessarily something that is part of my culture. It's just something that I feel connected to. But then I'm also like, well, I've been with my husband for almost 20 years. We have 2 children together. Like I might not be Filipino myself, but like I feel like I'm kind of part of that now because
we can adopt you now. And also, by the way, you mentioned you worked in a hospital. You're
all
practically
my coworkers are
Filipinos.
Filipino.
Yeah. You have to learn a little. My cousin, he works at Cedar Sinai in LA, and he never learned Filipino growing up because I think his parents were one of those, they were parents that were like, you need to assimilate and everything. So he never learned how to speak English. He didn't Tagalog. He didn't even understand it. But when he started working at the hospital, he's like, all these Ilocanas, which are like from the north, they're like, they're all like speaking Filipino, and I have to learn. Otherwise, they're going to start talking about me. And I found out that they were calling me fat. And I was like, well, you are kind of fat. And so, and then he sort of like went into like he talked about a rabbit hole. He went like deep down in the rabbit hole. He has tribal tattoos. He's got like the ear pegs that the other the northern Filipinos used to have. So like he went down, like he went hard into his Filipino-ness.
Does he speak Tagalog at all now? Or
he speaks Tagalog and also Ilocano, because like Ilocano is like a completely different language altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Well, I would say, working in the hospital and in healthcare in general. I mean, of course, there's a lot of Filipino coworkers of mine. So I can't wait to share this episode with them because
thank you. Well, what's really fun with the podcasts that we've done. We just made them for ourselves. And I also have I have a bit of journalistic integrity, a little bit. So we do a lot of like fact checking. I mean, as far as you can fact check a myth, right? So we do a lot of that checking. So we find out later on, like 2 years down the line, we get a note from the PR person from Greenpeace. And she says, yeah, Greenpeace. No, not Greenpeace. The Peace Corps. The Peace Corps.
The Peace Corps, huh?
The Peace Corps people, they send missions to the Philippines. Especially in the conflict areas in the South. But also they're part of the community. They help the community. They sometimes help provide basic healthcare, education, and stuff. One of the things that they send to them are onboarding, documents and how to, assimilate, how not to offend people. They sent 2 episodes of ours. One is an episode that we did on wedding traditions, which was episode number 2. And one episode is the episode on funeral traditions. So and it's for example, one of the funeral traditions is if you go to the wake, because in the Philippines, you have several days worth of wake. Like someone has the body either in a venue or at their home. So you do not go straight home. You have to go somewhere and you have to pagpagis. You gotta pagpag the spirit, the bad vibes, bad juju, or anything or anyone that could have followed you from where you came from. And then you go home. And usually it's like a restaurant, a coffee shop, a 7-Eleven, before you get home. And so we named that episode Shake It Off, because you sort of you just you shake off the vibe. So those 2 episodes are actually sent with the Peace Corps guys too. And so sometimes, so me and my friend were like, oh no, grown-ups listen to this podcast. Oh no, grown-ups are listening, stop it, So
isn't that crazy how you create something and you're just creating it for fun, and then it actually ends up becoming something that people are really kind of taking seriously?
Yeah, I think so too. I found that great. I mean, but a lot of it, but I always think it's kind of if it's true for you, it's true for more people.
Yes.
It's more. Absolutely. I think there are more things that bring people together than separate them. And so if I loved learning from a podcast, other people are going to love learning from a podcast. Surely I'm not I don't think I have a unique experience. I think all experiences are somehow similar somewhere. So that's what we found. More and more people every day, we always get messages about how it resonates for them. They're learning something new. We have one listener who's she's writing a series of novels. And she said our episodes on certain monsters and certain creatures are like the backbone of her character development. And we're like, oh, sweet. Like send us, we'll advertise your book. We love you.
Yes. Isn't that cool?
It's great. It's great.
And then, down the road when her book is out, you guys can have her on and you guys
Exactly.
So when you were growing up, you grew up in the Philippines.
Yes.
Where in the Philippines are you from?
So I grew up in Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines, specifically in an air base because my dad was in the military. So I was born in a naval base outside of Manila, and then most of my life I grew up in Manila. So if you arrived at the airport, that's thereabouts that area.
Yeah.
And there's this funny thing that happens, and it's still valid today. There's an app called Waze, which is kind of like, it's how you wayfind, right?
Yeah.
So when you right in front of the newest airport, Terminal 3, that whole area there, it says Dimapili's residence, which is my surname. We're like, no, we don't. No, that's a hotel. That's not. We don't own that. But I don't know who did it. Someone labeled it Diwata, probably one of my cousins. So I said like, so that's where I grew up essentially. But my father is from Batangas, which is the province, which is also a Tagalog province. So the language is Tagalog, Filipino, Tagalog. The national language is Filipino, which is a mishmash of Tagalog and American and Spanish borrow words. But their language is just like pure, like indigenous Tagalog. So Batangas, and that area is like where the world's smallest volcano is. Like their house is right on the caldera that faces the world's smallest volcano, which is active, by the way. And then my mom grew up in Cavite, which is also in the Tagalog region. It's like they're like right next to each other. And she lived in a town. Grew up in a town where the first president of the Philippines was from. So they called it the cradle of heroes because that's like a lot of presidents and historical figures grew up in that town, but mostly in the Tagalog and Manila region. But I always spent, even if we grew up in the city, we would spend our summers and our weekends in Batangas, and it was like rainforest. It was, they didn't have concrete roads until like my parents had them built when they retired in the mid 2000s. I mean, there were some paved roads, but generally just dirt roads. You can't bring a car there. You have to ride a Jeep of some sort. And then it was still very rural. And then like the developers came, there's a golf course eventually, but growing up, it was all very, very rural, very traditional and very, all this, it was steeped in tradition. On my mom's side, they were very modern. They went to school in Manila and everything. But my dad's side was a lot more like traditional.
My husband's from Manila as well, the Mandaluyong area.
Mandaluyong, yeah, near the river. Yeah.
And, it was interesting because he came to the U.S. when his mom came over first, the story that, we see that a lot. Some family members come over.
My granddad went first. My granddad went to San Diego because he was in the Navy, and then my grandma followed.
Yeah, so my husband's mom came over first, and then she lived in New York City, and then, and I can't, it's like hard to imagine because she had 3 small children and she left them behind in the Philippines. And to me, it's just like, I can't imagine that. I mean, like, I'm so attached to my children, that I can't imagine feeling like the only way to make my life better would be to leave them behind and try to make a life over there and then bring them. But it was also hard because by the time they moved to the US, when my husband was like in elementary school, they basically didn't know their mom, and she was pretty much a stranger to them.
Yeah.
And he was there in the, like, just that transition has been hard. And I think, it really affected him his whole life because that early bond was never really there,
It's very difficult, and it's unfortunately a common story.
Very common.
Very common in the Philippines and many other immigrant families. That really happens. My mom, when we went to America in the 80s, it was because my dad had to go to schools. He was in he went to Fort Bragg in North Carolina. And the housing there was very small for military families. And there were 2 of us. I was 4, I was 5, and my brother was 7. And my mom says, look, my sisters live over in San Bernardino County in the Valley in California. And so they have big houses. We can stay there. So me and my brother and my myself and my mom, we went to live there. And my mom, she used to work at a cardiology hospital. She was a med tech, and she was like, she did cardiology, like CVC, like a med tech. And so she would like, give you like and you'd run on the treadmill and stress test you and things like that.
Yeah.
So she did that, but she couldn't find a job in the valley. She would sweep hair at the salon.
Oh, geez.
And then we only saw our dad for that whole year. We saw him maybe twice. And then long distance calls were so hard. You would send a tape. You would record your voice on tape.
Oh.
And then he was heartbroken that I forgot how to speak Filipino right away. Because like when I went to America, I didn't know how to speak any English. And my kindergarten teacher was like, oh, she doesn't understand anything. And then, but like, 5-year-olds are very adaptable. And so I learned. And then the next month I talked to my dad and he was like, what? You don't say po or opo, which is like the respectful tone. So, but it's, and then eventually when we went back to the Philippines, we had to relearn it again. But we were lucky because at least we got to be with our parents. But a lot of our cousins, they didn't have that benefit as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. I mean, and I mean, and it's still, and it's still like that. I mean, I have coworkers that I've worked with, in the past 10 years that have similar situations. They come over and then their kids come over years later, and it's just really interesting. So, I mean, it's just so different. I mean, what I really took away from a lot of the travels over there is just how there are things that are the same, but there are things that are just so
different.
Culturally different.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting to experience that, because I think, like, as my husband tells me the stories of his growing up and all the things, like, you can't truly understand it until you really are in it and witness it.
Yeah.
I mean, to see the house, we went to the house that he grew up in, and the house was like, I think it had been like a 2 or 3 story house, and the whole upper part of the house had burned down, and now his relatives they turned the garage into their home, and they live in the garage basically. And there's so many of them that live in that space. I mean, like more and more relatives kept coming out of the back room. I'm like, how many people are living in this tiny?
And you can't like turn people away. Like you would not be turned away. Like anyone, I've never seen it. Like when we went to the city, when we lived in the city, a lot of our relatives were from the province, and when they would come to study in Manila, they all stayed with us. Like it was just like a given. It's just a given. Like your cousins stay with you. That's where they stay. There's no dorm. No, that's a disgrace. You're a horrible family member if you make your relative live in a dorm. No, family only.
Yeah, it's so like, and the thing that I really took away is just one of the other things was just how generous and respectful and, overall joyful the people really seem, everywhere we went. I mean, everybody was just so lovely and respectful and polite, and just like they always had a big smile, like anywhere we went in the Philippines, because we went all over. Everybody was just so, I mean, I don't know, here in America, grumpy and whatnot. And over there, it just was just different, and it was really cool to see.
I think it's the weather. I think it's, because you're just like you're
probably we got really lucky. The weather was absolutely lovely the entire time.
You're lucky.
Where it was not, I mean, it was hot, but not anything.
Not too hot.
No.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
So to get into like the main point of because I could chat about all this stuff forever.
Yes, of course.
It's all so fresh in my mind after coming back. But how do you see the folklore now? I mean, is it something that you feel like is still very alive for the people, or?
Yeah, it is very much alive. It is. And I think there's a little bit of a renaissance coming on in terms of like, so, like 6 years ago when we started the podcast, we're like, no, not 6. Oh yeah. A little over 4 years ago, we started the podcast. There was very little. And now there's so much, there's so many books. There's so many, I wanted to bring out like a couple of like stuff that I have, like just like very recently, there's this comic book that was published by Disney Press. And this one is Tori Tadyar. And this one is about Filipino mythology. It's called Illustra, the Daybreaker. And then there are the jewelry, the Filipino, like this is like a talisman. I got this in LA.
Okay.
I'm a supplier in LA. And like, and this one is a lingling o. It's a talisman for creativity
Oh, cool.
from the north, and it's from Canada.
Well,
so I think the new generation is starting to have like a renaissance. So I think it's a lot more. But I think there's a new movie coming out called The Forgotten Kingdom by DreamWorks. And it's about two best friends. And it's very timely to what we were talking about. Two best friends. One is voiced by her, the musician, her. And yeah, and the other one is voiced by Lisa Soberano, who is also Filipino, and she was in Young Frankenstein. She's in a couple of things. And they're best friends, and they grow up together in the province, and one of them has to move to America because her family says that's she'll have a better life. Their family will have a better life. And then, but the night before, they fall into a secret portal or something, and then they're lost in this kingdom, which is populated by all of these mythical creatures. And so DreamWorks made it. The trailer just came out maybe this like 2 weeks ago. And I think it's going to show in November. But like just that like that movement and sort of there's a lot more content out there. There's a lot more interest behind it, which is fantastic. But for me personally, I would not be satisfied until the people who know who Thor is will know what a Manananggal is. Like that's like I will not stop until until that knowledge is like deeply like if you I will not stop until so in the Philippines, one of the monsters is the Manananggal, right? So it's this guy.
Yes. Definitely.
So it's usually a lady, right? So she's by day, beautiful lady, usually from out of town. And then at night.
Quick question. I want to ask you a question before we get into this. Would you it says Aswang. Would that be considered, are they kind of like synonymous with, is that kind of the same thing, like the Manananggal and the Aswang?
No, not really. Aswang is just monster.
Aswang just is is kind of more of like an umbrella term.
Yeah. So like, for example, if I went out with my hair like this, they'd be like, you look like Aswang because you look like you look like a monster because, straight hair is the
didn't realize
beauty
that.
standard. Yeah.
I think Aswang was like a specific, like one of the specific things, but more it's just a general term.
I think it's kind of like they kind of like interchange it because it's just the most known one. So this is the Manananggal, but it says Aswang, right? Because it's a Funko Pop thing. So this guy, this lady.
Yes.
So she bisects herself. She leaves the bottom of her body behind and she flies off, blah, blah. But you know that there's a Manananggal nearby if you hear the sound, that sound. And if it sounds like it's close by, it means she's far away. And if it sounds faint, it means she's near. And then you should like be careful if you're pregnant, because it will eat your baby. But in the Philippines, when I was growing up, at least, I don't know, I haven't lived there in 13 years, but in the Philippines before, if you would hear that sound, which is usually a gecko, a house gecko.
What gecko makes that sound?
Yes, a gecko makes that sound. And we have them, well, we don't have one now because my cat ate them. But like you would have them even in Singapore and you go like, you'd hear that. In the Philippines, you would be like, oh, there's an Aswang, there's a Manananggal nearby. You have to be careful. But it's still, the belief still exists very, very pervasively. So in one of the stories that we tell in the podcast is one of my friends, she lives further south in an island called Surigao del Norte, in a province called Surigao del Norte. So the Philippines is like Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. So that's like just 3 islands. Mindanao is the southernmost island, which is a very verdant, very beautiful, like giant island, but also very remote. So where she lives, a new guy came to town and no one knew who he was. And then they said, where did he come from? He has no family. No one vouches for him. He's probably an Aswang, like a monster.
Oh.
And so they, and this was like 10 years ago, the people of the village came together with like pickaxe, like with machetes and like whatever other weapons they had. And they were going to storm the guy's house.
My gosh.
In a day that supposedly there's apparently a time of the month where the Aswang is like vulnerable. Maybe like, I don't know, the new moon. I don't know, something. They said something related to the moon, that the Aswang is vulnerable, and they were gonna attack it. But somehow someone had tipped the guy off, and he had left town, and so they didn't get him. But they were like fully gonna burn the guy out of his house
Oh my
again.
gosh.
And
This is recent times.
yes, recent times in my
10 years. Wow,
past
that's
10 years. Yeah, and my friend still lives there. My friend is like, she's like very worldly. She studied, she lived it. She went to school in Maryland, and she was born and raised in the Philippines too. Her dad was a Air Force person, like my dad. That's how we grew up. We knew each other. But her dad was trying to like, guys, come on. It's like 2010. It's like this design, but you will still see, like just 2 years ago, there was in the newspapers in Cebu that they spotted a Manananggal like just flying around. And so, yeah, and it was in the news. It wasn't like in some tabloid. It was in the main news theme. So so the belief is still very, very common. People will still go to the albulario, which is the faith healer, or the mystical healer. People will still go. My helper, my yaya, which is nanny, she's from Capiz, which is a town that's known for Manananggal. And her brother is a mambabarang. Mambabarang is it's like a witch doctor, but barang is an insect. And so his method of magic is the insect. So if you want to curse someone, he will send insects to like be inside your belly, or flies coming out of your eyes, things like that. And that's also how he divines. He divines through like flies. Like he'll kill a couple of flies, and then how they form helps him. Like instead of runes, flies. Yeah.
Interesting. People
and
can
that's like every day that happens like that. I could ask her, like, can you ask your can you ask your uncle if I'm gonna get this job that I applied for? She's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
So he'll crumble up some flies and
tell me.
Oh my gosh,
that's for me. Yeah.
That's amazing. So could you, for listeners that are not familiar with this Manananggal, can you kind of explain the story of that? What that is exactly?
So the Manananggal is sort of like the most distinct Filipino monster, right? So Manananggal, the root word is tanggal, which is remove. So imagine if there was like a lady who just moved into your small village. She has usually fair skin, long, straight, black hair, beautiful, but she keeps to herself. She has no family. She lives by herself. At night, she will bisect her body. She will literally, her body will separate from her bottom at the waist, and she will sprout wings like bat wings, and then she has like a long neck, and like usually sometimes she has fangs, sometimes she doesn't. Now in the provinces there are different versions, right? So but this is the most known, most like in the cinema type of monster that you can see. It was even in a Buffy Vampire Slayer comic book. So, that's yes. It was the Buffy creators made like in every generation. So it means like historical hunters. So slayers, and there was a slayer in the Philippines who was a shaman, who was a babaylan. But anyway, so they fly around, and their victims are babies. So what would they would do it? They would perch at an eave of a hut. So houses were like huts, and so the roof didn't stick to the wall. It was sort of like a gap was there. So they would perch at the edge, and they had long proboscis tongues, which would like snake down the side of your house. And if you were a pregnant woman, they would go into your belly button and suck out the baby, and then you would have a miscarriage. So that was the explanation for miscarriage. The Manananggal came, and I heard wings last night somehow. And, and now when I woke up, I was bleeding and there was no more baby. Oh, the Manananggal came and ate the baby. Another victim of the Manananggal were men who were about to be married. So because they said that one of the other stories was that the Manananggal was like a jilted lover, or like she was jilted at the altar. And so in revenge, she would victimize men who were about to be married, but she wouldn't kill them. She would just she would seduce them and then suck out their blood just to make them very, very weak, so that when they would get to the altar, they would be like, ooh, like, which I think is an explanation for hangover. But that's neither here nor there. But it's usually like it meant that he was fooling around with the village Manananggal before he got pregnant, and then like the wife would be like, "Oh, Mama, why are you so sleepy?" Blah blah blah. So that's the modus operandi of the Manananggal. The my favorite part of the Manananggal is that there's a way to defeat them. And a lot of Filipino monsters, there's a way to defeat them. They're not, it's very much like the vampire lore in like Eastern Europe. There's a way to defeat them, and anyone can do it. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be strong. You just got to be smart. So the way to defeat the Manananggal is if you know who it could be, right? Again, the lady who lived at the edge of town, you could go up to their house, wait for them to fly off and go hunting, find their stump, which is weirdly enough always still standing up.
Okay, so it's lower half.
The lower half.
Lower half standing up. Okay.
And it's exposed. It's like exposed guts, essentially. Because when she flies, her guts are still like just there.
Hanging out.
Hanging out. Yeah. And so you'll find her guts and you'll see there, it's like exposed guts, gross. You get salt.
Okay.
And you sprinkle the salt. And then that will prevent her from attaching back. And that's what gets her. It's the pain of the salt prevents her from attaching back. And if it's sunlight or sunrise, and she's still separated from her body, she will die. So you're not killing her with the salt. You're just preventing her from forming back to her lower half. So that's the quintessential Manananggal. There are films everywhere. There is a gentleman, and if this is too political, you tell me. You can stop me.
You can say whatever you want.
But there is a man who later on we found out who he was. He was a guy who was working at an ad agency, and he was bored out of his mind, so he wrote a book. And his wife is Filipina, and it's called Melania, Devourer of Men, where he reimagines. You should see it. It when the Melania Amazon documentary came out. As a joke, people on Reddit boosted the book. So that if you search Melania, this book came out, and then there was all of a sudden an uptick of like Manananggal searches because people were like seeing this book all over Amazon. And he wrote it as a joke,
That is hilarious.
We read it. It's so well written. I have to tell you. It's amazing.
I have to check this out. Like,
it's amazing.
It's so my alley.
It's so good. It's so good. He's super funny. His name's his novelist. His pen name is J.D. Boringer.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. No, we can talk about these things because anybody that listens to my podcast is not only going to be, on the right. They're going to be on the right side of history here.
Awesome.
They
Fantastic.
really are.
Fantastic. Thank you. Because a lot of Filipinos are not.
Is that true? I don't know.
My uncles included. Hi, Tita Nolly. He's not cool. Not cool.
Oh, he's not cool.
He's
on
he's
the other
not cool.
side.
Yes.
Where does he live? Does he live in the U.S.?
He lives also in the Valley. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. His wife was a nurse also. Is a nurse. She's retired now.
Yeah, we used to live, we didn't, I did some of I'm a physician assistant by trade. My husband and I both are. We went to school though. We went to school like in Pomona, which isn't too far from.
Yes. Not far. Mm-hmm. My cousins went to Nogales for high school, and they lived in Walnut. I lived in West Covina. My cousins lived in Diamond Bar. So right around there.
We're very familiar with that area. We always, I kind of miss that area actually. Now that we're way up here.
It's really quaint.
There was a lot of fun, great
swap meets.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Great swap meets at the Nogales High School parking lot.
Interesting. I was going to say there was a lot of great Asian restaurants.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of great Japanese food.
Where we live. We live I live in a small town. My town that I live in is called Lodi. It's just like a very small town. Just a general town. I'm just a suburban mom,
Your snaky wallpaper would disagree.
Oh yes, no. I'm a suburban witch, and I am fabulous.
I love it. Us ourselves. I wanted to show you. I can't. It's off camera, but me and my daughter were doing potions the other day. So we just
love that.
So we just have I just have all these jars. This is So this one is so I had it's off topic, but I went to it was a Samhain evening market, and
Yes.
a lady here, she has a witchcraft store, and she had like different vendors come, and one of the vendors were sisters, and they were half Filipino, and they channeled my ancestors for me,
yes.
and they had they said you have a grandmother who was a babaylan, babaylan is the, like, for lack of a better term, a shaman or a witch doctor and a woman. And but she's also like the cultural leader of the village, right? And she's like the vice head of the village. And she said, and I said, like, I have a worry because I think I I I have an evil eye that is very strong. Like it's too strong. Like if I don't like someone and I just like wish them just like I'm hungry and I'm angry, I don't even mean to do it. It's too much. It's too much. It's too chaotic, right? And they said, okay, what you do, you get a lot of rice. And then you put some charms that are like meaningful for you. I have my evil eye, and I asked my daughter to help me find things. She's very intuitive. I asked her to find things that make her feel nice, make her feel good. And then anytime you feel like you're too overpowered, that you put it in the jar. And then it's like a battery that if you need energy, you can then just like get it afterwards. So, so we have that.
That's
and then
beautiful. I love that. Oh
yeah,
gosh,
and that's what apparently my grandmother told me. And then this one is our like a jar of like happy thoughts. So it's got like feathers. It's got some of my cat whiskers in it, right? So you just have it. We just have like 15 jars and potions here. So
I love that. That's so fun. Now I have another question. Are you familiar with I'm gonna probably,
you can type it.
These Filipino words are not easy for me.
Yes, yes.
But I will try them. The mangkukulam.
Mangkukulam, yes. So the mangkukulam is the witch doctor.
Okay.
So, but specifically malevolent, right?
So this is different than the one that you were just speaking of.
Yes. So what we're Albulario is the healer.
Okay.
Albulario is the healer. Sounds like herbalario, which is a herbalist. Albulario, herbalario, similar things, but they're healers. The mangkukulam is someone who performs hexes.
I see.
So they perform harmful, malevolent magic, and the classic. And a mambabarang is a subcategory of mangkukulam. A mangkukulam will have different methods, like the TV doll that you poke and stuff like that.
A voodoo doll?
Like a curse, yeah, voodoo doll, but I think that's just really more westernized influence now. Yes. But also other things like you get something from the person, and then there's like a binding that you can do with bamboo, like young bamboo. And you get like a hair of the person you want to curse, and then you bind them, and then you send it off to sea and let the goddess of the sea have their way with them. Things like that. That's what the mangkukulam would do. Mangkukulam is also a character, like a demon, I guess, for lack of a better term. Yeah. So there is no concept of hell as such pre-colonially. Okay. So there is a heaven, there is like a sky world, but it's not an afterlife thing. It's where the gods live, a sky world. And I think when and from our research, when the colonizers came, then, but I'm not saying just the Western colonizers, but there's a heavy Hindu influence in the Philippines. There's a heavy Muslim influence in the Philippines. There became a being called Sitan, who is the god of evil and death, and then he has like 4 minions, and one of the, and then they're really, I don't know their names off my head because they're not words that we use today, except for mangkukulam. And mangkukulam is a person, like a singular person, but also like a job that people have. Okay. But of those 4 demons, like they're like, one causes fires and one causes hunger and disease, but one causes families to break up.
Oh, wow.
Like that's what like of like the four worst demons you can have. You can have one that curses you. You have one that gives famine and pain, and one that burns down your house, and then one that just makes husbands and wives break up.
Now,
This
does
how
this?
important the familial unit is.
Oh, yeah, in the Filipino
Yeah.
culture for sure. I mean, but now do people do the mangkukulam? I mean, is that something that still exists?
Oh yeah,
in the
you can totally hire one. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can- There's people that
Yeah,
are
yeah,
like
you can hire on
consider
the
themselves
internet.
that.
Yeah.
Off the internet, of course. Wow.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. You can totally hire someone on the internet to kulam someone.
So kulam would be
The
the word,
action, that's the verb.
the action, like the curse, the
Yeah.
hex, or whatnot.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So mang and then repetition of the first syllable of the action is that person who does it. So for example, mang or mag. So like mangkukulam is a person who does the kulam. Mambabarang is a person who does the barang. Barang is the hexing through insects. Yeah. Mangingisda is a person who fishes. Isda is fish. So that's just the Filipino structure.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about, okay, so here's another character.
Yes.
Am I saying this right? The Kapre?
Kapre. Yes, Kapre. Kapre
Okay.
is the tree giant.
Yes.
So the Kapre has become a general term.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of tree giants in the Filipino mythology, like north to south. There's Kapres that have just like one eye. There's Kapres that have no head, and he just is like a stump of a head, but he like smokes.
Oh.
He smokes out of the stump of his head. But the general Kapre is a very, very tall man with very, very dark skin. So the thinking is the belief that anthropological, or no, not anthropological really, but like the historic people believe that it came when slaves were brought to the Philippines. And it was the first time that Filipinos had seen tall Black people. Not the first time they saw Black people, because indigenous Filipinos in the north are Aitas, Aeta, Aitas. They're very small. They're like very, very small people, but they also have very dark skin and very curly hair. But they're more like Melanesians than they are Black people. Like even the tinge of their dark skin is very different from, let's say, African skin. So the belief is that when slaves were brought here by the Spanish, because they were also part of the slave trade, that people saw them and they were very tall, they were very strong, and they were very silent, and they're not really evil, but they are guardians of the doorways to the underworld. And they're not really, they can be invisible. So they usually are near certain trees, mango trees, acacia trees, balete trees, which are trees that have like like banyan trees, like long vines in front, and they look really creepy. And these big old trees are thought to be the doorways into the underworld, and the Kapres guard them. So how do you know if there's a Kapre around? If you smell tobacco smoke, it means there's like a cigar tobacco, not like a cigarette, a cigar, a very fragrant. That means there's a Kapre there, but he likes you. Like he won't mess up with you. But if you smell something like goat piss or like something really stinky, it means the Kapre is like just giving you a warning to just stay away, right? And then there are these stories where Kapres would fall in love, right? So the story, the actress I was telling you about,
with humans?
With humans, yeah.
Okay.
So there was this girl, so Lisa Soberano, who's the actress I was telling you about, who's a voice actress in this new show, in this new movie. When she was a little girl, so she lived in America. She's half American. So she lived in America with her mom. Her mom is American. Is that true? I think her mom is American. So she would live part-time in America and part-time in the Philippines, in the province in Pampanga. And so sometimes she spent summers there, sometimes she'd go back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And then when one time she was summering in the province, she would wake up with scratches on her legs, like just gashes and scratches on her legs. And at first they were like, no, you don't scratch yourself, blah, blah, blah. But then she says, no, I'm not doing anything. It's like they just appeared. And so they brought her to the albulario, who is the healer, the herbalist. And then they said they divined, they dropped some candle wax into the water, and then they divined that, oh, do you have a mango tree outside your window? Yes, right outside her window. Oh, a Kapre lives there. So what you do, you don't sleep in that room anymore. You sleep in another room outside the window because he has fallen in love with you. Also, stop hanging your underwear outside.
Oh, okay.
Because apparently it's her fault.
Yeah, yes, of course.
It's victim blaming, monster victim blaming. So she did that. She slept in a different room, blah blah blah, and then she just stopped having those scratches. So that's like a famous. But another famous kapre was in the president. So like the White House of the Philippines, called Malacanang Palace. There is a tree, a balete tree, like the banyan tree. And it's right in the middle of the road. It doesn't have to be there. Like you could dig it up and bring it somewhere. So when you're in the road and you're driving, you have to like turn left or right. And the tree has just grown so big, you can barely get by, that they had to widen the street. But it leads right up to the palace. And then they said that a Kapre lives there, and the Kapre guards the president. And that's why no president has ever died while they were president. And it's true. There has been, since 1898, there has been not a single president that died while they were president. A lot of people have died after, or like, could have been president, but because they said the Kapre was guiding them. Now, one president got cancer while he was president. He didn't die, and he was Noynoy Aquino. He was the son of one of our revolutionary presidents, but he was also a president. But it was because he didn't live in the palace, because he is very humble. He just stayed in his old house.
He didn't have protection.
That's what they say. That's, and it's a UNESCO protected tree. Like you will answer to the UN if you remove that tree, because it's a heritage tree.
Down if something happens to that tree.
Things are going to go down. Yeah. And then the story is it was probably because there was an American soldier who defected, and he was fighting for the Americans during the Filipino-American War in like 1901 or 1902. And he couldn't bring himself to fight against the Filipinos. So he switched sides, and he started fighting for the revolutionary, for the Filipinos against the Americans. And he protected the then president, who was from my mom's town. And so he lived in the palace. And the story is he never died, and that he became a kapre, and he lives in the tree. Yeah. Mr. Brown. I forget what his first name is, but yeah, Mr. Brown is his surname.
Interesting. Wow. So, oh my gosh, there's just so many stories, aren't there?
Yeah, it's too many. That's why we have something like 80 episodes.
Oh, I know you have a lot of episodes. So I want to talk about one more before we end. I want to touch on the Diwata.
The Diwata, yes. So Diwata is so it's essentially a fairy, right?
Yes.
A fairy. The word Diwata came from the Hindu Devata, which is goddess. So that's like the devas. So the devas are goddesses. So Devata is the goddesses. A lot of our gods and goddesses names came from the Hindu. So for example, the creator god is called Bathala, and it's from the Hindu Batara, which means Lord, which is what how you would address a god, Lord. So Bathala. So anyways, the Diwata, there's like a lot of classifications of them. But I think a lot of the depictions of Diwata have been heavily like Western influences.
Yes.
Because they're always like white. They're always like fair skinned. They have pointy ears, of course. Sometimes they have a fair hair as well. But there's been like modern depictions of Diwata that they would drive fancy cars and that they would steal the souls of the maidens from the towns. And so one of the anthropological beliefs was that these were stories that were created by villagers to make sure that the foreigners, when they came, would not steal away their women. Essentially, and they said like, don't go with that white school teacher, because he's actually a Diwata. He's gonna steal your soul. And so a lot of the legends about Diwatas have a lot of parallelisms with Western fairy theology. Like if they bring you to their home, don't eat anything, right? So one
Yes.
of the things you're not supposed to eat. So it's like if like you meet a handsome man walking down the street on your way home, and he's like, come get into my sports car. And it's like a fancy sports car. You get in, they drive you, and all of a sudden it's like you traveled kilometers in seconds, and they bring you to your house and they're feeding you rice, right? Don't eat it because it's actually worms, you know. And then there are different kinds of diwatas. There's diwatas of the forest. There's diwatas of the ocean. There's diwatas of the fields. There's diwatas of the trees. There's diwatas of the sky. So they travel on flying boats.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, they have flying boats too. And then there's even a city where the diwatas live, and it's called Biringan City. And Biringan City is kind of like the Wakanda of the Philippines. And it's a mythical city that people believe exists. There's a postcode. Like people get
Oh,
mail from
okay.
Biringan, and it's near a certain town, Pagsanghan, not Pagsanghan in the Tagalog, but like Pagsanghan in the south, where in the town they believe, oh, that tree is a portal to go into Biringan City. And people said that they have gone there themselves. And this isn't a news show, by the way. This isn't like a 60 minutes type of TV show. So people go to the town. That people believe that they had visited the town, and they describe it as a very high-tech modern town where people never die and everyone is a diwata. They have long hair, they have fair skin, they have immortal life. And the towers are very tall, and they're like like lights everywhere. That's always what they say. Like there's always lights everywhere. And then the time you spend there is not equivalent to the time you spend outside, which again is very, very
Very famous.
fairy
Yes.
coded, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
and yeah, but like there's like a ton of modern stories, right? So there's this story that a guy who works at like a Honda dealership, no, BMW dealership in the neighboring town receives an order for 20 BMWs to be delivered at an empty lot in an area that's known to be a Biringan portal. And someone
Mhm.
drops off cash. I don't know, sounds like a drug deal, but someone drops off cash at the dealership. They're meant to deliver the cars and then leave, right?
Mm.
So these guys, they make a bet. They're like, no, this is like nothing. It's like this is drug dealers, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So they leave the cars, and it's like a open dirt space, right? So of course, when you drive in, there are tracks driving in. They leave it, they leave. The next day they come back, the cars are gone. If it was really like a drug bust or whatever, there would be tracks of the cars driving away. There were
Sure.
no tracks. They were just gone. Just gone. Cash
So this
only
is
payment. They were
so this
like
is like
levitate.
modern day account
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
the truth behind it.
Yeah. And apparently you're not supposed to talk about it, but I don't care. so like the so like there are very
But
few.
law, so it's okay.
Yes. It's far from where we live. We're in a
Yeah.
different country. I feel like we would not be brave because things have happened, right? So like we've been invited to guest in a couple of podcasts before. One was paranormal podcast. They
Uh-huh.
did that episode of Biringan City, so you have to listen
Oh,
to it. But,
uh-huh.
but it's in Tagalog, so I don't know. But they invited us to guest, and when they invited us to guest, it was me, the host, and a guy who was a Catalonan. A Catalonan is like a witch doctor, but like generationally,
Uh-huh.
like a root worker, I guess would be the best equivalent of it. And he's from a particular province where they called their shamans a Catalonan, and he is a conduit of spirits. That's what babaylans are essentially. They are just translators because your ancestors and the spirits are just like around you, like giving pointers and stuff. So he was talking to me, and I live in a I live in a haunted house. I live in a known haunted house. When I say known haunted house, when I'm here in Singapore and I say like I live in Townerville and they're like the haunted house, it's a
Oh,
hundred year
wow.
old house that the British built. And it's very rare in Singapore to live in a house. Everyone lives like in a high rise, in an
Sure.
apartment, or in a condo because there's like so little space. But we live in a house, and it's very reasonable because everyone thinks it's haunted, and Chinese people are so scared of ghosts. It's kind of funny, but We're not. We don't care. It's not that we don't believe in ghosts, but like my husband believes that if ghosts exist, that's really nice because his dad passed away, and he thinks that like, oh, I think it's nice if we think that my dad could be like visiting us.
Fully agree with your husband.
Right? And for me, the Filipino pre-colonial belief is that your loved ones, when they die, there's no like heaven, there's no judgment, there's no bad or good, there's like no heaven and hell. I mean, murder, that's something else. But they are still there, just in a different plane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the worship was anito. It was the ancestor worship. And when they die, they're still your loved ones. If you need help, you ask them. But the Chinese believe that when they die, they become jealous of you. And that's why you have to have offerings for them. Otherwise, they can hex your fortune, they can make you barren, they can make your food spoil, things like that. And I said, like, but why? They loved you in life. Why would they hate you in death? Oh, because they're jealous of you. But why would they be jealous of you? Because pre-colonial Filipinos, when you die, you go to the dead people town where there's never any hunger. There's a goddess who has like 100 tits, and you will always be full. Yeah, you'll always have milk and honey, right? That's essentially that. So anyway, I was guesting on this podcast, and we were talking about communing with trees. And when you have a tree, you talk to the tree. Mm-hmm. And I always greet trees. I love trees. And then one hand is to give energy, and one hand is to take energy if you need it, or to ask for it, right? And we were, all of us on the call, we were just going like, left is to give, and then the right is to take. And we're doing that. And then thunder out of nowhere happens on the Philippines end. And then the host cuts off, the host guy. The Catalonan, the shaman, he was saying like, oh, they did not like that. And I said, what do you mean? Oh, the spirits didn't like that we were sharing their secrets. Oh. And I said, like, but is it a bad secret? And he said, no,
that's the thing.
And they were like, no, they're just afraid that people are going to abuse it, right? That, they're going to do it. And so like when the guy came back on, he's like, that was so weird. That was like, that was like nothing like that had ever happened before. There was no thunder, there was no storm. It just happened. And then at some point also during that talk, we talked for like 5 hours. Because as you know, I'm a yapper. Yeah. So it was like 3 episodes worth of content. And so the Catalanan was saying like, do you believe in ghosts and stuff? And I was like, yeah, whatever. I mean, like, I don't believe in the way that religion tells you about it, right? I believe in the way that you can hypothesize from some religion that there's something there that we can't explain, you can't necessarily see and stuff. Right. It's like, oh, there's like someone here with you, right? Like someone's joining you, right? And I said, that's not the first time I heard of it, because sometimes I'm Zooming with my old boss and she would say, there's someone behind you. And I said, like, yeah. So I'm like, sometimes my cat will just stare at the bookshelf. I think it's a roach, but whatever. So he says like, and then he said, they're telling you to not tell us about something. And I said, what? And I said, how do I know if I don't? So I started just like naming things that are a closed practice, but there's no such thing really. I said, do I tell them about this and this and this? And when I came to the evil eye, my evil eye in particular, my feed shut down.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so they're like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then like I just reconnected the internet and I was like, oh, I guess that's what I'm not supposed to talk about right now. So I talked about it a little bit, but I don't know if it's very different from the I would say Middle Eastern, Northern African belief of an evil eye, where they have the talisman and stuff. There's no talisman against the Filipino evil eye. It's very similar to like Mexican mal de oro, which is it's evil eye essentially, and call it usog. And it's very unintentional. And the only way to protect it or to defeat someone from it is with your mother's spit. So my daughter, every time she goes out, because she's very cute. She's very cute. She's very chubby. And the old ladies of the neighborhood, they love her. They think she's super cute.
Use those cheeks, don't they?
Yeah, they're always like, oh, so cute, so cute. And then my helper would be like, puera usog, which is like negating the usog. But sometimes the evil eye, it's like, so I just like have to, and then sometimes I think she's very cute. Like, I think she's like, oh, my God, oh my God. And then that night she's got a fever. She's throwing up. And then my helper was like, well, you did it again. And I said, so I have to like lick her forehead, lick her feet. And then I would just but ever since I was a kid, that would happen, right? They would, family gatherings, right? You've seen Filipino families are huge, right? I got 50 first cousins, 50 on my dad's side alone. I got 20 on my mom's side. And they're all in America, but like the 50 on my dad's side. And that's just first cousins. And we got second cousins.
Insane.
It's crazy, right? So there's always a baby, right? So we go there for the weekend and I'd be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Tons of kids, tons of teenagers, tons of everyone. And then the mom will later on bring the baby back to me, only to me, because a mother knows. A mother knows who gave the evil eye. And she's like, it's you. And I was like, how do you know? It could have been everyone. No, it's you. And then I have to do my thing. And then, and one time when I was working, I worked in public relations and I had a fashion show. I was staging a fashion show at the Shangri-La and I had to go to my boss's house to get like something. And while I was there, I said hi to her daughter's nanny. And I was like, hi, ate, blah, blah, blah. And she was so cranky with me. And she was like, whatever, because I was also help. So I leave and I was like, what's your problem? Blah, blah, blah. My boss calls me and says, like, you gave our nanny the evil eye. And I said, like, how does she know? She's like, she knows it's you. By the time I get back, because the traffic was really bad, by the time I get back to their house, the nanny had vomited like 12 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I said, like, well, how do you, and she was so scared of me. She said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you got mad. I'm so sorry I was rude to you. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I don't mean to. She's like, I know you don't mean to. Maybe you were just hungry and blah, blah, blah. Because that's the nature of usog. You don't mean to. Yeah. Right? It's not an intentional evil eye. It's not an envy-driven evil eye. It's just like, I was just hungry and you pissed me off, you know? So I had to do the whole thing. And then I had to do, she knelt in front of me.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to do that thing, that crazy thing. And then afterwards, she was fine. And I don't know if it's psychosomatic or what, but there's something there, right? There's something there that they believe that certain people can do these things to them. And that's a real thing. Like people will still go to the albularyo to heal like vomiting and, you know, things like that.
And it's interesting because it's like some of these things we don't really know. We can't really prove like necessarily what it is, but it's like if that healing modality works for you, then it works. Right? Yeah. Like it's real. If it's real for you, then it's real. I mean, that's kind of like my mentality about so many things. Like if it works for you, then it's real. So,
and the power of the mind is very real. So I work in pharmaceuticals, right? So I used to work for, I now work for a French pharmaceutical company. I used to work for Johnson & Johnson. Johnson Tylenol, right?
Yeah.
And we have done so many studies for Tylenol, but my favorite one was that, you know, they do a double-blind study, and they did a study where they just tell you took a Tylenol. And the effects of pain relief are the same.
It's insane.
It's just really, and then they take it another step further. So there was a study that said that if you're heartbroken, like if you're depressed because you got a breakup and everything, Tylenol helps. But they did a double-blind study, and they just told you had Tylenol and you're heartbroken. It still helps. So just the belief is, you know, it's like a Space Jam. It's, you know,
total belief.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that with my kids at night. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, you're not sleeping.
Yeah.
I have a magical sleeping chocolate.
And
if you take this, you're going to fall right to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they do. And I'm like, there was nothing in that chocolate.
There was nothing in it. There's nothing in it. Yeah. My daughter she was scared. She was starting big school because she was preschool last year and she started like essentially grade 1 this year, January.
She's 6?
So yeah, she's 6. So I got her like a potion kit. And so she made this lucky potion.
Oh, cute.
Which has all her lucky colors. And then it has a shamrock because she's Irish. And it has hearts. And then we sealed it, and then it just says lucky on it, and it's got purple things because she loves purple. And she wore it under her uniform. And she said, I had the best first day of school because I had my lucky. She also wears it when she has exams.
Adorable.
She's so
cute.
She is.
Combo of like, I always think the combo, the kids that are the mix between, like the mixed kids, they're just so cute. It's adorable.
And it's so funny because like they'll take up like different traits from different parents.
Mm-hmm.
So she has my hair because my husband has, when he had hair, my husband had the straight blonde hair. So, and he has like a green eyes. So he was hoping that she would have dark hair and then his light colored eyes and then dark skin because like me, like tan.
Yeah.
She is the whitest baby. Like now she's tan. She can tan, but unlike my husband, who's very Irish, but she also has like the thick. Yeah, she's got very fair skin, and she's got like super thick hair. But she has exactly his same features, but she has vaguely Asian eyes. So she's very racially ambiguous. Like you can't tell. Like, is she Indian? Is she Arab? Is she, and then when people are like, what mix is she? Because there's a ton of mixed kids in Singapore, which is, I think is great because it's a very multicultural country. Like our next door neighbor is like half Korean, half Canadian, and so they say like, oh, what is she? And they're like half Filipino, half Irish. And they're like, oh, okay, we get it. Like there's like this sort of comprehension. But she loves it.
My older son is just like spitting image of his dad. And then my younger son is like got more fair skin like me, more like, well, my hair's not blonde really now, but like he's blonde and he's got blue eyes and fair skin. Mm-hmm. But he's got the Filipino nose, which little cute little Filipino
it's
nose.
It's very cute.
Oh
I
my
know.
Gosh,
my daughter has my husband's nose, which is very small. So she has a hard time keeping her eyeglasses. It's very cute.
So cute.
Yeah.
Well, I have kept you now for over an hour.
No worries.
But this was been just so fun. I just love chatting with you. You're a wonderful guest. You're a wonderful
Thank you so much. Thank you. I had so much fun.
You're such a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, thank you. From years of research and just random reading.
Yeah, which is always fun, right? Like, I love like the biggest, I think one of the biggest things for me with having the podcast is just like all the cool stuff that I get to learn and all the people that I get to meet, which is just like the best.
It's great. I've met like so many cool people. And the thing about like mythology and just like belief in the supernatural is that you don't know what aspects of like people's daily lives that it impacts, right? So like we've been interviewed by students, by fashion students, by video game students. And like I got invited to speak in a university in China. And it was about supernatural beasts and place. So like I'm going to talk about the Manananggal and the CIA, because the CIA used the myth of the Manananggal to keep people away from their bases when they occupied the Philippines. It's crazy. And then there's like about like a lady who was, when she was born, she has a twin snake.
Wow.
And then another story about like the town where the Aswangs are from, that actually there's a high concentration of a genetic disease that makes them like contort. And that's why people think that there are Aswangs there. But it was a genetic disease. Capis, where my helper is from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They have some kind of neurological disease that's freakishly high percentage there. So
wow.
So there's some fact. That's the thing. Like there's some fact in the legends. And there's like a reason why the legends exist.
They were born out of something, right? Like people were experiencing something, and people were like, more than one person was experiencing something. So then that's how it builds. I mean, it's not usually just one person coming up with something and then just retelling the story. It's a group of people that are experiencing it. And, and it affects people, and it affects people in so many different ways. And I think that it's so interesting how we're able to see it in movies, fashion, video games, like all cross-culturally around the world, like it really affects all of us. And that's why I thought, even listeners that don't really have a specific attachment to the Filipino culture, just the mythology and folklore that we see like around the world. I mean, I think people can relate to that in any way.
And I think too, like people like your sons, hopefully, but like people who start getting into like the entertainment industry are starting to like feed in these little bits and pieces of Filipino folklore. So like the TV show Supernatural with like Dean and Moose, they had a Manananggal there. Like there was one episode where there was a Manananggal there. And then like Grimm, which is another like supernatural TV show, it was there. And then like I mentioned Buffy, it was also there. In Grimm, it was funny because it was the Chinese cop and his childhood friend's mom was the Manananggal. It was like I was like, I didn't even know he was Filipino. But anyways, I thought he was just Chinese. So like it's starting to like build in more and more and more, in Marvel. Like so like Ryan Coogler, who made Sinners, his wife is half Filipino. And so his cinematographer, Autumn, she's half native and half Filipino also. So, and she won the Oscars for cinematography.
She did,
but like when they were making, so his wife, Ryan Coogler and his wife, they produced Wakanda Forever, right? When they made Black Panther. And so when they made that, the costumes of the Dora Milaje, the protectors, they were based from Filipino tribal designs.
I didn't realize that Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, his wife, and they were performing together too. And I didn't realize that either. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Filipinos are. Well, Anama, this has been so fun. I really enjoyed having you on. I really, really enjoyed all that you shared with us, and just your energy is very infectious. And I can't believe you even have this much energy this late at night, because I usually. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go to bed, and I will let you know when this episode comes out. It'll be May. So, all right, guys. Bye.
Well, I didn't want to leave you all hanging, but somehow our recording got cut off. But we were almost at the very end, so it's okay. Anyway, I just want to say thank you to Anama for coming on Big Crystal Energy, for staying up until midnight at her time in Singapore to make this episode happen. I hope you all really enjoy hearing about the crazy Filipino folklore. I know I have been absolutely loving it. Also, check out Anama's podcast. It's called The Gods Must Be Crazy. Let's see here. I was just scrolling through The Gods Must Be Crazy, a Philippine mythology podcast. It's really, really good, you guys. And I have been enjoying listening my way through it. So if you liked this episode and what she had to say, you got to check out her podcast, because she has 72. I can see 72 episodes or more on her podcast of all different fun things to listen to. So Anama, thank you. Please go to the show notes for links to her podcast, links to her social media. And if you love this episode, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And with that, bye. Thank you so much for spending this time at the threshold with me. If you want to go deeper, follow me on Instagram at mystical.mama.ash, where I share daily crystal magic and behind the scenes of this liminal life. You can also find resources, previous episodes, and ways to work with me at bigcrystalenergy.com. We're also on YouTube at Big Crystal Energy Podcast. And if this episode resonated with you, please rate it and review it and share it with a friend that you think would connect with it. It would mean so much to me and helping build this beautiful community of other magical friends and crystal workers. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye.